Be careful and considerate about them as people, because the highest commandment is served when a person leaves your presence feeling loved. Whether they're physically healed or not, if they leave your presence feeling the love of God, you've achieved the highest end. And I'm afraid all too often people are filing in and out of our churches not feeling loved. We've counseled them, but they don't feel loved. We've taught them, but they don't feel loved. We've trained them, but we don't feel loved. We've evangelized them, but they don't feel loved. And I think the problem is that God is sending love, but somewhere in the pipeline, it isn't getting through. And that's the point that I want to talk to for just a few minutes, if you let me. You see, we're often running the race, doing the job, working the work of the church, and we've forgotten one important thing, that whatever we beget will come out in our image, or in his image. Now, if you're operated doing the things of God in the flesh, guess what you get on your trail? And is that not what we're finding on our trail? Dissension, bitterness, hostility, ambition, greed, avarice, lust, idolatry. Isn't that not what, does that permeate any of your churches? It does mine, to some degree. Why does it? Because that's still on me. And the degree to which I am purified in the process of walking with God is the degree to which I begin begetting in his image as he begets through me. The problem's in the pipeline. And the problem is that we have not taken seriously the admonition here in Colossians concerning these two elements. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. Today, as I prayed for a number of people here in front, they came looking for blessing, looking for help, sometimes for the church, sometimes physical, sometimes emotional, sometimes because of sexual bondage. Various kinds of prayers were asked for. All the people, or most of the people that we spoke to concerning certain issues came forward, all but one. And we prayed for them. And God delivered, God healed, God cleansed, God blessed. You see, we're running around as prophets preaching the peace of God. Be reconciled to God, we preach. Come to the blood, come to the cross, come to Calvary. And we can't find the cross or Calvary in our own existence. We're preaching peace, and there is no peace in us. You see, nothing is resonating in our inner man. Nothing's coming out of our being. Jesus said if you came to him and to the water that he would give, what would happen? Rivers of living water would gush out of our beings. Now, we teach that, but we don't live that. Therefore, it isn't happening. We use the words, everywhere. But nobody has a drink. Nothing's flowing out of their gizzard because they have not let the peace of Christ rule in the inner man. You see, they've let ambition rule, desire to be successful rule, the desire to be somebody rule. And we're hooked by this thing and that thing and this wind of doctrine and that teaching and this new move and this thing. And some came here this week saying, boy, bless God, you know, I'm going to down there and dip my cup in some of that stuff those guys have got, and I'm going to bring it back home to my church, and my church is going to grow. And then I'll be somebody. Now, you didn't verbalize that, but it was in your hearts. I prayed for some of you already. You see, if Jesus is the well, Most of us are not going to the well. We're looking around for those that have paid the price to go to the well, and we take our cup and we try to get some of theirs. We can't wait for that next book to come out, for that next tape to come out, for that next time that guy visits your area so you can get a little bit more out of him. Some of the people we prayed for today, they said, I want the blessing and the peace of God. And I said, all right, stand there and receive it. They said, what? They thought I was going to reach in my pocket and hand it to them, James. Well, here, let me write you a prescription. Would you like some of mine, you know? Like I could cut it off or something and just hand it to them. I said, now just stand and receive it. They said, what? I said, stand and receive the blessing and the peace of God. Well, how do I do that? Just stand there. Wait on the Lord. Well, don't worry about it. I'll help you. And so I helped them. And the presence of the Spirit came and rested first on their heads and their faces, and they began responding, and they'd break out of it. They'd say, I don't know if I like this. I understand, but you don't know the unction of God. You don't know the presence of God. And you're frightened by this. Because guess what? When God is resting on you, you're not in control. And you're afraid of that. Because you want control. Now, you don't have control when you've got control. Someone else does. Okay? So the only way you can get control is to give him control. So therefore, you must be weak that he may be strong in you. Does that sound vaguely scriptural? Let the peace of God resonate in your inner man. Resound inside of you like a big bell ringing out. And when that happens, and somebody comes and dings your bell, guess what happens? The peace of God. Boom. It fills the room. The fragrance of Jesus comes out. Beauty is shown forth in the land. The Word has that undergirding of peace as you teach. People say, what is it about you? Jesus. I just love Jesus. Well, how did you get that way? Well, just like it says in the book. Well, I'd like to get some of that, you know. Well, let me give you a page out of the book. Are you hearing me? You see, we are so strife-ridden. We are so tormented by the enemy. We are have succumbed so dramatically to our society, our culture, that has been, by the way, programmed by the prince of the power of the air. We're running to and fro as fast as we can go. We're running the race as hard as we can run it, but we're not running with the wreath in our hand. And Jesus has won this battle, people. We're to enter into his rest. We're to run the race with the wreath in our hand. When are we going to come to grips with that? When are we going to quit begetting in our carnal image? How many more do you want like you? You want 1,000 more like you? Unhappy, miserable, tormented in your mind and your heart? Ambitious, full of stress, trying to make it happen? You want maybe 2,000. How many more do you want? Like you. When are we going to come to grips with being filled with him, walking in him, so there can be 1,000 more like him? Huh? All right, let me whisper a secret to you. Let Christ rule in your inner man. Now, every now and then somebody says to me, you seem to be so laid back. Now, I haven't been saying that for about a year. I should have realized. For about a year, have they, honey? Sure. If you want to know the truth about all this stuff, talk to my wife. For about a year, I haven't been hearing that. But for about 5 years, I heard it all the time. Why are you so laid back? They didn't know how to express what they were saying. And I said, well, I decided a long time ago that I can't do anything without Christ. I can do everything in him, but without him, I can do nothing. So therefore, if I can't do anything without him, I'm going to find out what he's doing and join up. And lend my hand and labor and activity to what he's doing. And in the process of doing that, I found out that his burden is light and his yoke is easy. And that walking with him is a process in which he multiplies efforts beyond your wildest dreams. And I found that the burden of the ministry is his burden. And I've been having a good time. Now, I did have an intermission for about a year. But I'm back off the intermission now and back on the peace of God. And when that peace prevails in your inner being, it just flows through you. And it flows out to others. And it undergirds, everything you say. You say a little, you'll say a little verse, and it'll just resonate in their hearts. You think, gosh, look at all that effect, I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't know all that was going to happen when I said that. Why is it so? It's the Lord. You see, that's what happened to Peter remember when he was fishing and Jesus took him